Welcome back to the Professional Lovers Channel. I'm Al.
I'm Patty, and we
are
are
the
the
Professional
Professional Lovers. And we're getting toward the end.
Yes.
This week's Married at First Sight
Season 15.
was the last night before Decision Day, or the lead up
night.
to the last night before Decision Day.
Mm-hmm.
And next week we'll start seeing what the couples decided to do.
Well, we go from cold feet to frostbite.
Yeah, so if we've got new subscribers, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And we like to facilitate relationship building through the lens of Married at First Sight and talking about the relationship issues that each couple goes through, as well as sprinkling in a little bit of our 29-year experience and tips from our book, Becoming a Professional Lover.
Yes. Which is available in a few different places. We'll talk about that later.
Any online book
resource.
Yeah, that you can find. Anyway, and so, so we can get started.
Please do.
It's not too much to talk about specifically because we kind of watched the couples rehash things that they were going through last week. Each couple talked to either a family member or a friend about their ultimate decision and the pros and cons of those decisions and all of that. But there were a couple of little aha moments, and that were revealed through last night's episode. But we'll start with Kristen and Mitch. And Kristen's concern, she talked to a friend, was really about him validating her, him actually saying, I want to be with you. You know,
that you're worth being with, and that you're beautiful in my eyes, or, you know.
Yeah, he's been a little bit too gray, too hovering in this gray area. And it's because, as he admits, he's confused.
At least.
He knows that Kristen's a great woman. He knows that she's been good for him. And yet, you know, when he experienced a little bit of his single life,
his former life,
when he was on his conference, you know, he's just confused of what married life would actually look like. Real married life, without the cameras and without the experts and without the show. What real married life would look like.
And it's mainly because in his revisiting some of his former life and lifestyle, he realized that there were certain things that he was not doing anymore, or as much as he used to do. And thinking that that life like no longer existed, that's not even realistic. I mean, it doesn't have to happen that way. Now, if you choose to forfeit all of the things you previously have done because you now have a partner, that's one thing. But bringing someone in to share a life with does not mean that you give up all of what you used
enjoy
to be
doing.
Yeah. So
it's really about including that person in what you used to do for fun by yourself.
And balancing both of them.
Exactly. So, you know, when they went to dinner before they had to separate, he did say that he loved her, but wasn't in love.
Yeah.
And did say that he was afraid to lose her.
Yeah. Which I'm sure made her feel.
Yeah, you could see her on her face that that really went over well.
Which he just needs to do more of.
Right. So, you know, that's kind of where that was left. Stasha and Nate revisiting the old, I need to hear you say you love me, and I need to stop having to prove myself to you over and over and over. So they did not end on a good note.
No, they didn't. And I think a lot of that has to do with the decision day stress. I think a lot of it has to do with decision day stress because they were constantly moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know, and this is where my brain started thinking of, you meet somebody in a short period of time, which, whether it be married at first sight or anything, you progress. In this case, basically the escape hatch had been blocked off. You can't run. So now you have learned over an 8-week period much more than you would have learned with anybody else, because you have agreed to be married. And you have grown so much in those 8 weeks. How is it that you can throw away or erase from your mind all that you have come through to the point that you are, and think that there is no possibility of future? And I say possibility because that's what it is. It's a possibility of a future. But you don't even think of that possibility. But you have worked your butt off for the past 8 years
8
to
weeks.
have 8 weeks. It's felt like 8 years. For the past 8 weeks to achieve the hope for a positive future.
Well, and that's and what you were saying was, nobody is looking at the growth that has happened in the 8 weeks as though one could keep growing.
There.
They look at the 8 weeks as it.
Finished.
That's
Finito.
at the 8-week point, we're done.
It was the cutoff.
And we're not going to grow anymore. And if this is it, then I don't know if I can deal with this. And that's unrealistic. That
baffles me. That baffles me.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. And that goes back to what we said last week about everybody letting their fear and the negative aspects of what they've experienced drive how they're thinking about decision day.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at the growth, instead of looking at the positive, instead of realizing that this is just 8 weeks and we got the rest of life to go.
To grow. Not to go, but to grow.
So the question really should be, has he or she displayed enough character and personality traits and that would give me the hope that we can build on this and progress even further? That's the way any of the couples who are still married, who went through this process, are still married.
Right. But that's the process that you would go through anyway.
Anyway, it's just you wouldn't be doing it as fast. I mean,
that's all.
You know, I'm always thinking about our story and you know, the fact that we were also in the same age range as a lot of these couples when we met. That, you know, I knew that he had enough of what I had been looking for to be worth investing time in.
Day one.
And no. And and after 4 months, okay, which is double the time that these people have had, I knew that he could be someone I could spend the rest of my life with. Not because I knew everything about him, but because I knew enough, had seen enough, that said, okay, he's checked off a lot of your boxes. And it's enough to outweigh what I didn't know, that you can only really find out once you're actually living together, right? And I was willing to, and had no doubt or fear that if we did stay together and get married, that it would be a positive relationship. And what I knew was strong enough to weather what I found out later, or the little things that may aggravate each other, or the little things that you have to compromise on. What I knew was strong enough to anchor,
override.
to anchor and override
tidbits of
the
annoyance.
things exactly.
Yeah.
And it's sad that they're not doing that.
No, and I mean, but that, yeah, it's like you forget all of the journeys that you have taken previously that definitely make you who you are today, that will come out in how you test and how you move forward in the relationships that you have, whether they're personal, intimate, professional, whatever the case may be. Your history is going to guide you through the process. And in this case, much of certain things were already removed from the equation through the vetting of the professionals.
Right.
So all you really have to do is allow yourself to see who this individual is and move forward from there. And again, from the growth that these people have had in 8 weeks, I just don't understand why it is that nobody has the vision of what it could be, as opposed to what am I searching for to make it end? You know,
yeah.
Or what unknown is gonna give me enough whatever to say we can't go any further than this, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just confused by that.
So Nate talked to his dad. Stasha talked to a friend, and Nate's dad kind of was like, "What? You can still have kids and have fun? I mean, what are you talking about?" And it was like, his dad saying that,
was confirmation that he was looking for, because again, he didn't have a mother. So when it came down to what a family life situation, because again, I'm sure he looked at his father as, his hero, but he probably perceives it as being a major sacrifice and a struggle, where he thinks that his father didn't have fun. Guaranteed Pops had fun. Maybe not as much as he would have, if it was a complete unit, but,
Well, I think you hit it on the head.
Yeah.
Saying that he saw his dad making a lot of sacrifice and
Exactly.
struggling as a single parent. And he doesn't want that for his family. And the fact that Stasha is older and would want to start having kids probably sooner rather than later, it's scary.
Yeah.
And that's what he kept saying, it's scary. But his feeling about constantly having to prove himself, I can understand. And again, that goes back to Stasha's control. Stasha, saying, since he's never been in love, I don't know if he would really understand what that feels like or looks like. I think a person would understand
how they feel.
Yeah. And so I'm not really sure what she's looking for, what kind of evidence she's looking for, other than she strongly needs to hear those words said.
And I never thought about that as being manipulative or controlling, but in this case, to a degree, it is, and he's perceiving it as her trying to control him in saying and portraying something that is not genuine from him, or not. It's not organic in the manner in which he wants to express it.
Right.
And she's not allowing it to be.
Right. And so that's pushing him away.
Yeah.
And this week's episode, he had it. And walked off. And he said something. Why wouldn't the tattoo on my hand prove that I'm committed?
Yeah.
And I have to agree.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he tattooed the other girl that he lived with for 2 years on his body anywhere. So come on.
And whose idea was the tattoo?
I don't even remember. I think it was I think they both agreed to it.
I mean, they both agreed to it.
Yeah, I don't know who. I know who initiated it. But the episode left with them not really being in a good place at all. Lindy and Miguel. Lindy talked to her sister, and they didn't show Miguel talking to anybody.
No, they didn't.
Um,
But he hadn't been in a talkative mood in the past couple of weeks.
true. But they're still, talking out the issues that they had over the last couple weeks.
And they communicate well.
They really do, and so there's no surprise there. Miguel's just wondering, if he would be able to be the kind of husband he would need to be for Lindy on a long-term basis.
And whether or not he can adapt to her personality.
Right.
And not be triggered.
On a long-term basis.
Right. And not be triggered by what he is unaccustomed to right now. And actually, I think, and again, he's in theater. He should understand when people get emotional. I mean, he's not one who gets imbalanced, but, he doesn't necessarily get overly excited about a whole lot either. But yeah. I can kind of relate to that. But,
But her sister did say something that I thought was very good. And she was saying that, you, in any given situation, you have to determine who needs the most care at that given time.
Yeah.
And whoever needs the most care, which kind of aligns with our tip, yes, that says settle your differences from our book by meeting each other's present needs. Yeah. And I thought that was really good advice because the sister has a personality kind of like hers where they get distracted easily and all that. So she really couldn't, share advice on that part. But I thought that was a good statement.
And it makes sense because both of you at one time or another will have needs that need to be met. And you would want them to be met by your spouse. Because they're who you're sharing this current situation with. Whether it be good, bad, or indifferent, But those are the things that create and strengthen a bond.
Right. And it goes into partnership. Exactly. As in, when he's really going through something, then I need to be strong enough to buttress him, to buoy him up until he works through whatever that is. And likewise. And thankfully, that's usually how it works.
And often it's just being aware of your spouse going through something. You can tell when attitude's off a little bit. You wake up and, okay, you're a little quiet or, I mean, we had one of those recently.
Just a day ago.
Yeah. I woke up.
No, and I said something that rubbed him the wrong way, and then I could immediately tell when I actually woke up that his attitude was strained. But when I asked, you okay? And he says, yeah, then I know to leave it alone and just let him process through his whatever he's going through. And it wasn't until we were in bed, getting ready to go to sleep, that he, expressed what it was, and we talked it out, and, and there you go. So anyway, at least several of these couples are talking things out. But it's going to be too bad that some of them are going to not feel like they are things that can be overcome and resolved. Yeah. Yes. So our last couple, Alexis and Justin. Alexis talked to her mom, and Justin talked to his mom. Alexis' mom said something very interesting that I thought was good, and that was she told Alexis, when you're thinking about whether to stay or go, whatever, don't go because you are a runner.
Right. You
go because you feel like he's not right for you.
Right. Don't run for the sake of running. Don't
because that's
fall
what you're
back
used
into
to.
your pattern. Right. The discomfort causes you to fight or flight.
Right.
In this case, this is a marriage. A marriage is worth fighting for.
Right. Justin was the one who had the most major aha moment, which was interesting because it's like, dude, you didn't know that already? Yeah. But anyway, his mom talked about him being in his head and getting stuck in his head. And as she explained it to him, he was like, oh.
Have I been like that all the time?
I do that. And yeah, I was surprised that he
didn't recognize that.
Exactly.
I mean,
and
that's
that he had not
battle.
been, because he has said that about himself already.
Yeah, but I mean, he did not realize to what extent he has his own battles within himself
and creates his own narrative in his head based on his perceptions of and projecting those narratives on. And a lot of people do that. They project their own narratives onto other people as though those things are, as though they are facts,
as opposed to finding out.
Yeah,
I'd rather find out the truth and be hurt from that than saying, oh well, it didn't work because of something made up, because you don't know the reality of it.
And of course, when he shared that with Alexis was like, that's what I've kind of been trying to say.
And that's
over these past 7 weeks.
That's her whole hesitancy of him not feeling confident within himself.
And then, of course, she doesn't trust that his aha moment would actually stick.
Right.
And if she would be expecting it to change immediately, then she's right, because that's not going to change immediately, because he's been doing that his whole life. And that's part of his makeup.
Although I think there was something else that might have triggered him a little bit, that Mom said.
Yeah, that he needed to get freaky.
When your mother tells you need to get freaky?
That's a little scary. When your mama tells you that you need to get freaky.
Well, actually, to me, that would be permission.
I don't know if I want my mama giving me that kind of permission, though, because that means she's thinking about freaky stuff, and I just ill.
Well, that's coming. I think that is an adult woman expressing what she thinks a man should do, or what could do.
Yeah.
And again, women know women. Fellas, women know women. And so for his mother to look at Alexis and understand the type of woman that she is, knowing that she is an extremely strong-minded woman who is very secure in her skin with anyone.
Freak her out.
Well,
freak her out.
Venture at least, So I think that was a combination of something that he was even a little thrown off guard, not only with the aha, but the ooh.
Yeah, coming from his mama.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd do if my mother said something like that to me.
You'd run through the street screaming,
I would.
Oh my God.
I would, because she just does not fit that profile at all. I'm just saying. But we want to end with actually the last tip that's in this book. Because it's something that all of these couples and anyone trying to build a relationship would have to remember. And that is, you only become a professional lover through study, time and effort. Just like you becoming a career professional. It took you studying. It took you studying theory. It took you study through observation. It took you study through interaction, right? And all of that took time, and still takes time, because you never stop learning.
Because you're honing a skill. Right.
And you never stop growing.
Right.
And life goes through many different stages.
Exactly. You're dealing with a person that is constantly changing, just like you're constantly changing, but at the same time,
constantly changes the relationship.
Right. It changes certain dynamics within the relationship that you have to adapt to.
Right.
And each and every step is going to take effort.
Right.
So, application.
And you cannot build a strong relationship, partnership, without any of those elements.
True.
So that's where we leave it this week. Next week, we will begin to see who has decided that their relationship is worth keeping,
pursuing,
yes,
investing in,
yes,
moving forward, looking forward to growth, having hope, all of those positive things.
So we look forward to sharing that with you next week. Until then, you know what we say. We want you to love yourselves
and each other.
Bye.
Peace.